The inside of the F-150 Tremor is really, really nice. Like, I love all of the little highlights. Like along the driver's side, we've got this nice orange highlight, follows all the way through the dash, through the driver's side with the stitching. That same stitching follows through the steering wheel, the seat, and even through the armrest. It looks really, really sharp. I love these seats though. These are nice. Now I did mention, so the F-150 Tremor, unfortunately the 400A package was discontinued for the 23 model year. So we've got the 401, which will be a cloth seat, and then we've got the 402, which is going to be a leather seat. And like I said, the seat itself, super comfortable, really, really nice. And one thing that I love, so the seats themselves, when we look at the 402A, going to be fully power adjustable. So we can go forwards, backwards, up and down with the thing. We've got two-way lumbar support. And then one nice thing is that we also do have a headrest that you heard that clicking there, so we can adjust it just based off of a comfortable neck and head position for ourselves, which, nice. But one really cool thing about the F-150 Tremor is that when we look at some of the feature sets, it's very, very close to the Lariat in the sense that we've got the option for heated and ventilated first row seats, as well as heated second row seats when we get the 402A high package, like what we're looking at here. And this one has some other niceties and things like that that are included. So let's dive in. Along the driver's side, because we've got our power seats, we also do have our seat memory buttons there. So 3 individual profiles. We've got all of our side view mirror controls, power folding side view mirrors available there as well. Basic window buttons, and then we've got a boatload of door storage. By our left knee, we've got a boatload of different buttons as well. So we've got 2 in order to turn on the lighting for the outside of along the side view mirrors. So we've got a little zone lighting there. We can control all of our zone lighting right through the Sync 4 media screen, but we've at least got buttons to turn on that side lighting for our side view mirrors. We've got a button for our bed, so we can lower our tailgate there as well. We've got our bed lighting we can turn on or off. Series of different selectable switches for our lights. I honestly always just recommend keeping it in the auto setting. Easiest way to go. From there, we've got 2 other buttons, and that's going to be in order to increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen. From there, we also do have our parking brake, and then there is the option for power adjustable pedals. Power adjustable pedals will depend on which model of the vehicle that you're in, but they're really nice. Like, especially if you're vertically challenged, you do have the flexibility of pulling those pedals in a little bit to make it that little bit more comfortable for you. But I mean, so hold on, the seat itself is going down even more. But so with me being 6 feet tall, I've got, what's that, like 5+ inches of headspace, like 5-6 inches of headspace there. So, you know, you're 6'6", you'll probably comfortably be able to sit inside of this truck, no problems. But I mean, the way that I would typically have the seat set up, nice and comfortable, still gives me like 3+ inches of headspace, the way that I would typically have this thing set up. And like I said, the seat comfortability is there. Now, one thing the Tremor won't have is the option for massage chair first row. You will find that in some of the higher versions of the F-150, but it's just not going to be available in the Tremor whatsoever. Now, the steering wheel inside of this thing also is going to be heated, and it's power adjustable. And one cool thing is that we can set up our steering wheel the way that we'd like it to, our seat the way that we want it to, and our side view mirror the way that we want it. And then all we do is just press and hold either 1, 2, or 3, and that's going to let us set up our own personal profile. So it's useful because if you've got multiple people driving the vehicle, you can remember your own personal settings, which is great. Stick on our left side, well, the only stick that we've got is going to be for our windshield wipers and for our high beams and turn signals, all that fun stuff. We've also got a series of different buttons along the left pad of the steering wheel, and that's going to be for, well, a few things. So we've got buttons for our adaptive cruise control system, so our set it and forget it cruise. If you want to walk through and how that works, check down in the description of the video. But we've got our volume rocker, and we also have a voice command prompt to do things like change songs, radio stations. We can navigate using our voice as well. Along the right-hand side, we've got a series of other buttons in order to control what's going on through our cluster screen. If you want to walk through on how to use the cluster screen or even the Sync 4 media screen, check down in the description of the video. I put together some crazy comprehensive videos explaining how everything works. But we can also answer or hang up on a phone call. We can change songs, radio stations, and things like that. So it's pretty straightforward. Along the bottom part of the steering wheel, we've got this nice aluminum cutout as well. It looks nice and it feels nice all at the same time. I like it. Shooting over, we are going to be push button start inside the vehicle. We can turn ourselves into accessory mode if we want to, or press the brake and push the start stop button in order to fire the engine up. But actually, we'll start up there. So I want to go through a few other things here as well. I mean, the startup animations inside of this are great. I love the one inside of the Sync 4 media screen. It looks nice, celebrating 75 years of F150, 48 to 23. So crazy, so crazy. I love it. All right, so some basics here. Just looking at the very top of the media screen, we've got a little button there, and that's going to be for our 360 camera. So we've got the option for the 360 camera in a lot of models of the F150, but we've got a few different views. So we've got our 360 view, our front partial view, front 180 degree view, our bed view. There is also the option for an added camera, so you can put that on a trailer essentially to see what's going on behind you. Really, really useful setting. There's a hitch view, so as we're backing the truck up, we can see if we're lining ourselves up properly in order to be able to mount. And then we've also got our full backup camera there as well. So it is nice, we can kind of adjust as we go in order to figure out which camera we want to jump in between. We've got our reverse sensing system, so that beeping that we get as we back up, that drives you nuts. You can turn it off. Four-way blinkers. We've also got our traction control system, and then we've also got our trail control on top of that. Some other buttons you're going to find: Pro Trailer Backup Assist. So if you suck at counter steering the steering wheel yourself, you could just turn this knob the way that you want the trailer to go, and it's automatically going to counter steer for you. Really straightforward to use. We've got our integrated brake controller, and then because we're in the Tremor, we're 4x4, but one cool thing is that it also borrows something from the Lariat, and that's going to be our 4 auto setting. So we've got our 2 high, 4 low, and 4 auto. Inside of that, the 4 selectors there, we also have a series of selectable drive modes. And I love, because we've got a digital cluster, I love the way that the animations look. And like each animation, so each mode is essentially going to make the screen look slightly different. And then as you move between different modes, it might shoot you into 4 low, 4 high, 4 auto, whatever the case may be. Well, the one that I really love though is going to be sport mode. It's just going to rev up your RPMs a little bit more, give you an infinitely sportier performance in comparison. But basics here, we've got a series of different sources, so AM, FM, Sirius XM, Bluetooth. You could obviously hook up your phone, so just over Bluetooth if you wanted to, in order to make phone calls, listen to music and things like that. But one cool thing is that we also have the flexibility of going through wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So you've got factory navigation inside of this thing, which is great. And I mean, the factory nav, super responsive, which I love. And like one cool thing inside of the factory nav, we've got breadcrumb capability as well. And it's going to drop this little dot, think like Hansel and Gretel, so you can see where you've been. But we can go full screen with our factory navigation, and it's super responsive. But if you prefer to use Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze, you've got that flexibility. On Apple devices, you're able to use Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze. Inside of Android devices, you're strictly looking at Google Maps as of right now. There's like rare cars where I've seen Waze available, but I don't believe it's available in Sync 4 as of yet. Hopefully coming soon. We've got a favorite button down there, so we can press that in order to essentially make the button whatever we'd like it to be. Apps screen, which is going to give us Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, series of different settings that are available inside of this thing as well. So there are some pretty neat ones that are available. Vehicle settings, not so much, but when we get into our features, huge options there, which is great. We can set up personal profiles if we're going to have multiple people driving this thing. We've got a more advanced Ford Assistant, so voice assistant as well. So rather than pushing the steering wheel button in order to change songs, radio stations, things like that, we could say, okay, Ford, and if we have it set up, it's going to launch that assistant for us instead. Kind of neat. We've got a features button with driver assistance settings, giving us a boatload of cool options. We can turn our blind spot system on or off, turn off our parking sensors and things like that. We do have a reverse brake assist inside of this thing as well. So as we're backing up, if there's something behind us, it's going to slam on the brakes for us. It's kind of cool. Trail turn assist button is there. We've got our zone lighting button there, so we can turn on everything individually. So our front, rear, side lights if we want to. Really useful if you're going to be working later on at night. We've got our tow, and I love the towing section here because it walks you through the process of setting up a trailer, and it makes it just like absolute, like it's idiot proof essentially. It's such an easy system to use. I love it. And if you've got multiple trailers selected, you can select which one you're going through as you go. We've got our trailer sway control and a number of other great features. And then we also have a fully digital owner's manual. So if you're getting some weird messages on the screen, on the cluster, you're not sure what those little things mean, you can jump into your owner's manual here to figure it out. We've also got this like little tray along the side. We can easily move in between on top of that. Shooting across, so we do have this little button in order to be able to open up some storage on the passenger side of the dash. We've got our glove box as well. And then the audio inside of this thing. This is like car-shakingly amazing. And like it's halfway, it's literally turned up halfway. The audio inside of this thing is unbelievable. Like it sounds great, super deep bass, but that's because this one has the upgraded Unleashed B&O sound system, which I mean, obviously like it sounds great, and it strategically puts speakers all over the place, front and back. So it's just like this really deep audio experience. So if you're an audiophile, you will love the upgraded speaker system inside of this thing. And we've got dual zone climate control inside of this thing, series of different climate control settings. But one thing that really makes the Tremor stand out, the 402A package, is it does have heated and ventilated first row seats. And I mean, that makes it worth it by itself. So inside of the XLT Black Appearance package, you could get leather seats, but they're just going to be heated. Inside of the Lariat is typically where we would go to get that heated ventilated option, but we also have heated ventilated first row seats when we get the 402A Tremor package. And I mean, amazing. I love the heated ventilated option. It's really, really nice. Shifting down from that, we've got a little tray as well, and that's going to show us a wireless charge pad, as well as a few USB power points. So we've got a USB-A and then a USB Type-C. Shifting down, we do have a few cup holders, little storage, and then power folding shifter. And that's for this. And it is our interior work surface area. Inside of the Tremor, we only have the option for the 40 console 40 setup. So we don't have the bench setup whatsoever. I actually have a feeling Ford might end up phasing that thing out, just because the Lariat got rid of it this year. So I think writing might be on the wall. I think Ford's really trying to streamline their vehicle lineup right now. So I think there's the possibility that the bench seat might be in the chopping block. So it's not as of yet. You can still get it in the XL and the XLT. It's just that the Tremor, Lariat, etc., you're not going to find that available as an option. But the console is nice. It is lockable. So if you have some valuables in there, you could lock it out very easily. It's the same way with a glove box. But inside this, we've got a little storage tray, fully removable, and then a few more USB power points. So another USB, USB-C down there as well. Moving that shifter back up, we've got park reverse neutral drive, and we can drop it into a manual mode. And that's useful because we've got two little buttons along the outside, so plus minus button, and that's going to let us determine what gear we're in. So super useful. We do have a 10-speed automatic transmission inside of this thing, so it is useful to be able to drop gears and go up and down as necessary there instead. And then shifting up overhead, there's the auto-dimming rearview mirror. We've got a series of different light controls for our cabin lights, and then this thing also has the panoramic sunroof. So single button press on the shade opens it up halfway. We can push again to open it up that full way if we want to. So let's do that. And then we've got a series of other buttons here. So one of them, the one that we use in order to close the window, if we push that, that's also going to give us a little bit of a vent instead. Push again, and then we can also easily pop this thing open. Let there be light. But I love it. So single button press opens it up the majority of the way. Secondary button press opens it up that last little bit. But I mean, it just opens things up so nicely. It's good. We also do have power sliding rear window, which is super useful. But one thing, it's power sliding, but we do have to push it ourselves. Right? So if we don't press and hold it, it's not going to open or close the full way. So something to think about. There is the sunglasses holder, typical Ford styling. And then one thing I also love about the Tremor is that we have our auxiliary switches. built right in, which is super useful. So if you're going to be wiring things up, like different types of lights, you want a grill bar, whatever the case may be, like grill light bar, you've got that as an option. You want to power up a winch, you can do that as well. So lots of options, and I love that we've got the aux panel right from the factory. In any F-150 though, you could technically add it in aftermarket. It's just built in beautifully when we get it done from the factory. Overhead from there, so we've got our visor that does have the HomeLink system. So if you've got a garage door opener at home, we can program that in. A vanity mirror, hello, with built-in lights. There's a little business card holder. And then this thing is going to extend out to block all of the sun that might be hitting our face, which is great. The second row of the F-150, I love it. Like, we're in the SuperCrew version of the vehicle right now, and like the spacing inside of this thing, it's amazing. Like, I've got a killer amount of knee space inside of this thing. Hold on. So I've got the driver's seat set up for somebody who's 6 feet tall. I'm also 6 feet. I've got a great amount of knee space, great amount of foot space, and up overhead in the second row, I'm at about 2.5 inches of headspace there. It is nice. And like the seats inside of this thing, like even the middle seat, it's actually surprisingly comfortable. Now the middle seat's not as comfortable as the outboard seats, but it still is pretty nice. Now I love all of the highlights, like I said, inside of this truck, and a lot of the ones we saw along the driver's side door follow through to the second row. So we've got that same stitching there, follows all the way throughout the seats. We've got this beautiful Tremor badge in the first and the second row as well on these seats, and it looks really sharp. I like it. I like it. Some other key highlights in the second row. We do have pockets in behind the driver as well as the passenger side. So the first row seats in the back there, just in behind the armrest. So we do have a few cup holders here. So it is useful for people back here. So we've got cup holders here and bottle holders along the door. It's nice. Shifting down, we do have heated seat buttons, and that's going to be for the outboard seats. So this middle seat, never going to be heated whatsoever. It's strictly going to be for the driver passenger side. We've got a traditional 12-volt power point, so regular cigarette lighter adapter. There also are a few more power points down here. So we've got USB, USB-C, as well as a traditional wall outlet. Some basics along both the driver passenger side. We've got some clothing hooks. There also are lights on both sides there too. It's nice. Now one thing, we do have some cup holders back here. And then I did point out we've got our power sliding rear window on top of that. We've got our anchor points and tethers and things like that. So if you've got front-facing, rear-facing child seats, you're not going to have an issue inside of this thing whatsoever. So on the driver, or on the passenger side, we've got a little latch there, so we can pull that in order to be able to show our jack stand as well as our white spigot. So useful there if you ever need to change a tire yourself, or if you ever need to fill up using a jerry can. There is also another one on the outside of the seat, and I'm gonna have to pop outside for that one. So on the outside of the seat here, we've got this little release. We're just gonna pull that and lift up, and we've got our power inverter. So the way that the seat looks here is going to depend on the rest of the configuration of the vehicle. Obviously we get Pro Power on board, it's gonna look slightly different. And then if we get the full partition lockable storage inside of this, it's also gonna look very different, more so on that side. But I mean, we can easily pop the other side of the seat up there as well. So dropping down, and then on the outside here, lifting up, and we've got just our regular floor storage down here. So useful. It's a small amount of storage, but I mean, I personally love the partition lockable storage just because of how much it opens things up. But I mean, whether or not you go the partition lockable route or not, it was going to be a matter of preference. I just find it super useful. And then one thing, once this thing is locked up, it is locked up. We do have to pull and release in order for it to drop back down again. But overall features, spacing, styling inside of this, really, really nice.